Welcome back to Fantasy Football Today, presented by Snickers. Snickers satisfies. I'm Jamie, that's Dave, that's Heath. We got the wide receiver waiver wire options for you. Looking at the players that are on a bye, some significant guys that are missing this week. You're going to be without Marquise Brown, maybe Rashad Bateman is still a good stash candidate. Hunter Renfrow has been a really good PPR wide receiver. Henry Ruggs has had some moments. So not the worst case scenario at the wide receiver spot, but still some guys who are definitely not going to be there for you. Some of the replacement options that you could be looking at. We know the big story is obviously Davante Adams expected to miss Thursday's game after being placed on the reserve COVID-19 list, but Allen Lazard's in a great spot. Now, you also could be looking at maybe Randall Cobb and Marquez Valdez-Scantling if you're talking about some deeper leagues for the Packers, but Lazard coming off 2 straight touchdowns. We'll talk about him in a moment and what his upside could be in this matchup against the Cardinals. Cole Beasley coming off a strong game before their bye week. The Giants guys are interesting because we have the setup for them. They play Monday night, so you have to make some waiver claims on potentially Slayton and Pettis. You also could be looking at maybe adding Sterling Shepard still, Kadarius Toney still, and Kenny Golladay. All 3 of those guys are in play in around 65%, 67% I think is where Shepard's at. The other 2 guys are right around 60%. But remember, they don't practice until Thursday, so we might not know who's playing for the Giants. So factor that in if you're looking at Slayton and Pettis as replacement options. Some stash candidates on this list. Rashad Bateman certainly qualifies. Michael Gallup qualifies. T.Y. Hilton qualifies. And then there's this nice, very available wide receiver in Khalif Raymond, who's been playing well for the Lions. But let's talk about Lazard first here. So again, Davante Adams not expected to play on Thursday. Heath, you said he's not going to be a top 36 wide receiver for you. What's the concern not picking up Lazard, who was great in one game without Adams last season and is coming off, again, 2 strong performances?
Yeah, I think it's what Dave said. Like, he could get 6 targets, and 6 targets for Allen Lazard generally means 4 catches for 50 yards. And then if he scores a touchdown, that's a good day, and it worked out well. I just don't know that there's going to be – he's not going to get the Davante Adams target share, obviously. And so I don't know that there's a huge opportunity for a big target load. And again, the Cardinals have been very good against the passing game so far this season.
So when I look at Lazard, in 4 of 7 career games with at least 6 targets, that number seems to stick in my head because that's the reference I use against Khalif Raymond. I don't know if you could tell on the podcast today. I wasn't sure how I felt between these 2 receivers, Raymond and Lazard. I'm with Lazard now. 4 of 7 career games with at least 6 targets, a touchdown, and at least 12 PPR points. Now, in the other 3, it's not good. You don't even want to hear about it. But Lazard does have that kind of upside without Davante Adams on the field. Some of those games came with Davante Adams on the field, and he's got the better quarterback. So Lazard's my favorite wide receiver to pick up this week because of that upside, because of the target potential, even though it's on a short week against an Arizona team that's been pretty good against receivers.
Beasley's in a good spot because Dawson Knox is not going to play out for a couple of games, so maybe the target share goes back in his favor. Clearly, you've seen Josh Allen spread the ball around. Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders, Knox. But again, no Knox taking on Dolphins defense that's struggling, and slot receivers have had success against Miami. Beasley's going to have a big game against them in the first meeting. Hopefully has a bigger game in the second meeting. So let's talk about Khalif Raymond, because I know both of you guys like him. Heath, he was part of your Believe It or Not on Monday's show. So, Dave, is he the second priority for you?
He is for me. Right behind Allen Lazard is Khalif Raymond because he's gotten 6 or more targets in 4 of his last 5 games, 12-plus PPR points in 3 of those 5. He has 6 receptions in each of his last 2 games. And Detroit needs somebody to throw to besides T.J. Hockenson. It looks like they've settled on Raymond, who's got really good speed. If he gets the ball in the open field, watch out. He can be a game breaker there. But the Philadelphia defense that he plays this week, they've been pretty good against wide receivers this year. Tyreek Hill went off. Just about everybody else they've played was anywhere from okay to really, really bad. I would take the chance on Lazard because of Aaron Rodgers at the quarterback position versus Jared Goff throwing to Khalif Raymond.
It's typically been where they put Darius Slay, and Slay could be on Hockenson. We saw Slay on Travis Kelce in that game, which is why Tyreek Hill had the performance that he did.